There are things happening right now all around the world. Things that sound like science fiction, but they're entirely real. Sounds no one can trace. Waterfalls on fire. Villages falling into mass sleep. Are these natural mysteries or signs we've barely scratched the surface of reality? Today, we're diving into 10 of the strangest real-world phenomena that scientists are still trying to explain. And trust me, by the end, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about Earth. There have been reports of a persistent, low-frequency hum in a number of locations worldwide, most notably at Taos, New Mexico, Bristol, UK, and Largs, Scotland. For decades, specialists have been puzzled by this peculiar acoustic phenomenon, which is often described as sounding like distant thunder, a revving diesel engine, or even a large idling machine. Strangely, only about 2% to 4% of local populations seem to hear it. Usually middle-aged adults, often more women than men. Those who do hear it report sleep disturbances, headaches, dizziness, and even nosebleeds. Theories include man-made sources like as industrial generators, subterranean pipes, and even low-frequency military communication networks, as well as seismic activity that occurs deep beneath the Earth. Some individuals think it's produced by infrasound, which are frequencies lower than human hearing that some people may find resonant because of their unique sensitivity or even the shape of their skulls. One suggestion proposes it could be otoacoustic emissions, sounds originating from within the human ear itself. There has never been a definitive explanation. However, some believe it might be a neurological disorder similar to tinnitus or a type of mass psychotic illness. Native American traditions, on the other hand, interpret the hum as a spiritual signal rather than a scientific anomaly, describing it as the earth communicating to those who are sensitive to it. No credible external source has been found in spite of intensive acoustic research and environmental monitoring. The hum still intrigues scientists, irritates listeners, and feeds conspiracy theories and curiosity. Is it an undiscovered communication that we are not supposed to decipher, or is it a normal planetary phenomenon? In July of 1518, a woman in Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, stepped into the street and began to dance. But she wasn't celebrating. She danced for hours, then days. Within a week, more than 30 others had joined her, moving uncontrollably. By the end of the month, the number had grown to around 400. Some reportedly danced to their deaths from exhaustion, stroke, or heart attack. What could have caused such a bizarre outbreak? Historical records, including city council documents and physician notes, confirm the event. Initially, local authorities believed it was a medical condition. So, in a moment of medieval logic, they hired musicians, built a stage, and told people to keep dancing, hoping it would cure them. It only made things worse. Modern theories range from ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold that grows on rye and can cause convulsions, to mass psychogenic illness, a form of collective hysteria brought on by stress, fear, or religious fervor. Strasbourg at the time was experiencing famine, disease, and severe social tension. But the strange part, similar outbreaks have occurred in other parts of Europe, Germany, the Netherlands, and even in modern times. In 1962, an uncontrollable laughter epidemic swept through a school in Tanzania. In the 2000s, fainting spells and mysterious seizures affected schoolgirls in Bhutan and Colombia, with no clear medical explanation. Are these cases extreme psychological phenomena, or is there something more primal, more ancient, embedded in our collective psyche? Even today, no single explanation fits all the facts. The dancing plague remains one of history's strangest and most unnerving mysteries, when the body becomes a puppet and the mind has no strings to pull. On this channel, I've created a full dedicated video diving deep into the dancing plague of 1518, when the music never stopped. From St. Vitus legends to the science of mass hysteria, you'll find even more eerie details and historical insight, so don't miss it. Could psychological trauma, poor nutrition, and cultural fear collide to create a collective loss of bodily control? Or was something else at work, an invisible force echoing through time, from saintly wrath to social contagion? Whatever the truth, the dancing plague of 1518 remains one of the eeriest unsolved human phenomena ever documented. A dance no one could stop and no one could forget. We've all seen lightning strike the ground, but what if I told you some lightning shoots up out of the clouds towards space? These are called blue jets, and they're not science fiction. They're rare, high-energy electrical discharges that burst upward from the tops of thunderstorms, sometimes reaching heights of 50 kilometers into the stratosphere. For years, blue jets were dismissed as pilot myths or camera glitches, until scientists aboard the ISS finally captured one in high definition. The video showed a vivid blue burst of light leaping from a thunderstorm over the Pacific, like a trident fired from the clouds into the heavens. Now, why are they so unusual? Blue jets go beyond the edge of space, in contrast to normal lightning, which strikes the Earth or moves between clouds. They only last a few milliseconds, yet the blue and ultraviolet light they emit is powerful enough to confuse satellites. They don't behave based on the same laws of physics that govern ground-based lightning, nor do they follow typical weather patterns. What we know so far is that scientists believe blue jets may be the result of positively charged lightning inside a storm cloud discharging upward. This releases bursts of energy into the thin upper atmosphere, sometimes spawning other odd phenomena like red sprites or colourful, disc-like flashes seen above storms. But we're still in the early days of understanding them. These bursts happen too high for most planes and too low for satellites to monitor consistently. Most footage we have is from lucky moments on space missions, or military pilots who happen to be in the right place at the right time. Based on some, these upper atmosphere discharges might affect satellite or even aeroplane navigation. Others wonder if blue jets are caused by space weather, electromagnetic abnormalities, or something else entirely. Some speculative beliefs link them to UAP sightings close to storms or unexplained aircraft disappearances. Naturally, that portion is still up for debate. Fundamentally, the blue jet phenomena serve as a reminder that there is still much we don't know about the sky. We do not necessarily know what is occurring in the atmosphere's layers just because we have given them labels. Blue jets are beautiful, wild outbursts of Earth's electrical breath directed at the stars, but the science is catching up. While we sleep, what else is going on above our heads? So many mysteries unexplained. In the coldest, driest corner of our planet, a glacier appears to be bleeding. Nestled within Antarctica's icy expanse is a 5-story cascade of crimson liquid oozing from Taylor Glacier, so surreal, so haunting it was once thought to be a scientific mistake. Early explorers believed it was red algae. They were wrong. It's real and it's flowing from ice. What you're seeing isn't blood, but it might as well be for how unnerving it looks. The red colour comes from iron-rich brine trapped beneath the glacier. When it seeps out and hits the oxygen in the air, it rusts just like blood and stains the ice a deep, ominous red. But here's where things get strange. This brine isn't just salty, it's hypersaline. It can remain liquid in freezing temperatures due to its extreme salt content, and it's ancient. Trapped under the glacier for at least 2 million years, it's completely cut off from sunlight, fresh air, and the rest of the world. And yet, scientists found microbial life thriving inside it. The ecosystem beneath Blood Falls survives in total darkness, using iron and sulfur instead of oxygen to generate energy. It's like life from another planet, buried under Earth's surface. Some researchers believe this is exactly the kind of life that might exist beneath the icy crusts of Europa or Enceladus, moons of Jupiter and Saturn. So now this bleeding glacier is more than a curiosity. It's a living lab for astrobiology. Some question how such a self-contained ecosystem could exist for so long without collapsing. Others wonder if there are larger organisms trapped deeper in the ice, in even older pockets of brine. While there's no confirmed evidence of anything bigger than bacteria, nature has a habit of surprising us when we think we've seen it all. Yes, the blood is iron. Yes, the water is salt. But the imagery? Bright red liquid oozing from a glacier in one of the most inhospitable places on Earth stirs something deeper, a primal curiosity, a whisper that even in a frozen wasteland, life finds a way. Antarctica is still largely unexplored, its secrets locked in ice. If something ancient can live hidden beneath a glacier for millions of years, what else might be sleeping beneath our feet? A deep quiet, an old sea of trees can be found at the base of Mount Fuji. Although it goes by the name Aokigahara, the Death Forest is a more sinister title. Despite its terrible reputation, it also harbours something much stranger. Despite being totally alone, countless visitors have claimed to hear footsteps following them, flute-like melodies and quiet murmurs. These are not just myths. Fearing they were being followed, hikers have abandoned trails only to discover their own tracks. What's more troubling about this? There's never any recording of the whispers. Nothing is recorded by audio equipment, no wind, not a voice, just a spooky quiet, as if the forest itself muffles sound. Twisted trees, damp foliage, and gnarled roots abound in Aokigahara. Sound is also absorbed by this forest, so it's not simply visual. The porous volcanic basalt underneath is similar to natural acoustic foam. No echo is present, not a single bird's song. Footsteps even appear muted. It is a surefire way to become disoriented psychologically. However, what if it goes beyond that? According to others, the whispers are a type of auditory paralysis, which is the tendency of the brain to identify patterns in turmoil. Some people are suspicious of infrasound, which are extremely low-frequency sound waves that can induce anxiety, uneasiness, or even hallucinations. The problem is that most forests don't evoke this degree of anxiety. Hikers who've explored dozens of other remote locations say there's something uniquely heavy about Aokigahara, something oppressive, as if the forest is watching you back. Aokigahara is associated with yurei, restless ghosts imprisoned in the mortal world, in Japanese folklore. According to other people, the souls of those who died in agony and are now calling to the living are housed in the forest. Some people say that compasses spin erratically in the forest, although this only occurs when they are set directly on volcanic rock. Indeed, a lot of Aokigahara's tragic past and eerie silence can be explained by science. Lava rock and dense forest combine to create odd acoustics and natural confusion. The sensation of being observed in a silent environment, that is a human survival instinct. However, you have to wonder about the quantity of recurring, intensely intimate experiences here. Can grief be ingrained in a location to such an extent that it becomes a part of its soil? In the deep, dark currents of the ocean floats a tiny creature that breaks every rule of life and death. It's called Turritopsis dohrnii, better known as the immortal jellyfish. And it may be the only creature on Earth biologically capable of living forever. Barely the size of your fingernail, this jellyfish doesn't just age slowly, it reverses its life cycle. When injured, threatened, or simply aging, it transforms its adult cells back into a polyp, essentially starting life over again. It's like a butterfly turning back into a caterpillar, over and over. This ability is called transdifferentiation, where mature cells convert into entirely different types of cells. It's extremely rare and in humans only observed in controlled experiments. But Turritopsis does it naturally as part of its survival process. In theory, it could continue this loop indefinitely. It doesn't grow older, it resets. Researchers believe this tiny jellyfish holds clues to cell regeneration, aging, and even cancer resistance. It's being studied not just for marine biology, but also for future breakthroughs in human medicine. What if we could reprogram our own cells to rewind? But here's the paradox. Even though it's immortal in theory, Turritopsis still dies in the wild, usually eaten, injured, or destroyed by environmental changes. Immortality doesn't mean invincibility. We think of death as the great equalizer, but this creature drifting silently through the sea challenges that certainty. What if death isn't a biological necessity, but simply a limit most creatures never learnt to bypass? In ancient myths, immortality was often cursed, a burden rather than a gift. So we ask, if a jellyfish can loop through life endlessly, does it truly live, or is it trapped in a cycle with no end? Critics point out that while the Turritopsis dohrnii may reverse its age, we don't yet know how often it does so, or whether there's a natural limit. Most of its life is still shrouded in mystery. After all, it's extremely hard to track an organism that turns itself into a new being every time it's threatened. The immortal jellyfish may be small, but it holds one of the greatest secrets of life. And if nature figured out how to beat aging, maybe death isn't as permanent as we think. In the remote steppe of northern Kazakhstan lies a village that began to sleep. Starting in 2013, residents of Kalachi began falling into deep, sudden sleep without warning. Children collapsed mid-lesson, farmers fell asleep in the fields, people dozed off while riding bikes. Some wouldn't wake for days. And when they did, they were groggy, hallucinating, and sometimes had memory loss. The phenomenon was so widespread that the media dubbed it Sleepy Hollow. But this wasn't fiction, it was a waking nightmare. More than 25% of the population was affected. There were no patterns, young and old, healthy and sick, all fell victim. Some residents slipped into sleep multiple times. One woman reported waking up 3 days later with no idea where she was. Doctors ruled out viruses, narcolepsy, and carbon monoxide poisoning, but nothing fit. Nearby sits a ghost town called Krasnogorsk, a former Soviet uranium mining site. The mine had been abandoned decades earlier, but suspicions grew. Could radioactive gas be seeping into Kalachi's air? In 2015, officials blamed radon gas from the collapsing mines, claiming it was the cause of the mysterious symptoms. But the explanation didn't convince everyone. For one, radon typically causes long-term illness, not instant unconsciousness. And the gas was never detected in high enough levels to justify the severity of the symptoms. Some suggested toxic mold or chemical runoff. Others floated more controversial ideas: Soviet-era experiments, geological shifts, or mass psychogenic illness, a psychological condition spreading through suggestion and stress. But that theory falters too. Kalachi's villagers weren't panicking. Many were too unconscious to panic at all. And then it stopped. By 2016, the symptoms began to fade. No final cause was ever confirmed. Some residents had moved away, others stayed, living in uneasy peace with a mystery that had left its mark. Entire families had been affected, schools had closed, doctors were confused. Today, Kalachi stands like a strange footnote in modern medicine, a town that slept through its own mystery. While radon and carbon monoxide remain the leading official explanations, they don't entirely add up. No consistent environmental readings, no clear source, and no repeated incidents elsewhere despite similar mine conditions in other towns. Can an entire village fall asleep and still wake with no answers? In Kalachi, science gave theories, but not closure. And to this day, no one can say with certainty what caused a village to sleepwalk through its own forgotten chapter of history. Deep within the heart of the Peruvian Amazon, hidden beneath a dense canopy of jungle, lies a river so hot it boils animals alive. It's called Timpishka, known locally as the Boiling River. For centuries, Amazonian tribes considered it sacred. According to legend, it is protected by Yakumama, a giant spirit serpent that lives beneath the surface, its breath heating the water from below. And here's the strange part. This river shouldn't exist. Scientists first discovered the river's modern details in the early 2010 when geologist Andres Russo followed indigenous stories passed down through his family. What he found was astonishing, a 6.4 kilometre long river with sections that reach up to 93 degrees Celsius, 199 degrees Fahrenheit. That's near boiling, yet there's no volcanic activity nearby. No magma chambers, no geothermal hotspots as far as instruments could detect. It defied geological expectations. The current belief is that the river is heated by deep geothermal activity, rainwater seeping down through fault lines, getting superheated by the Earth's crust, and rising back up into the riverbed. It's a localized system, but extremely rare. Still, many scientists are cautious. This explanation is based on educated guesswork, not confirmed data, because the river is remote, under-researched, and surrounded by protective tribal territory. The local people still tell stories of Yakumama, the mother of waters. Her massive body is said to twist through the underground, breathing heat into the river. Some believe she guards the jungle's spiritual balance and that disturbing the river can anger her. Countless animals, including frogs, snakes, and even birds, have been seen falling into the river and cooking alive in seconds. Their bodies burst from internal steam pressure. Even stepping too close can scald your skin. It is, quite literally, a natural boiler running through one of the planet's most biodiverse ecosystems. While the geothermal theory is the most widely accepted, it doesn't fully explain why this happens here and not elsewhere in the Amazon basin. There's no major tectonic activity, and Peru's known hot springs don't connect to this region. More research is needed, but it's slow and difficult. Many areas remain protected, sacred, or unreachable. A boiling river in the middle of a rainforest sounds like fantasy, but it's real. It bubbles, it scalds, and it challenges our understanding of what the earth can do. Is it science, legend, or a little of both? A fantasy book with fire dancing behind gushing water, seemingly defying the laws of physics. It's not a trick of the light though, it's true. You may stand close to it, hike there, and even feel its heat. The flame still defies simple explanation, despite the theories of scientists. Natural gas seeping through fractures in the surrounding shale rock is what causes the flame to burn. Methane makes up the majority of the gas, which escapes under pressure and ignites with the assistance of hikers who relight it when it sometimes blows out. Here's where it gets weird. In most places, these seeps produce very weak gas flows, barely enough to maintain a flicker. But at eternal flame falls, the gas flow is unusually strong, and the composition of the shale shouldn't be producing that much methane. A team of geochemists from Indiana University in 2013 studied the site and concluded that the shale beneath the falls isn't hot enough to produce the volume or purity of gas being released. The typical temperature required to cook organic material into methane is around 100 degrees Celsius. The rocks here? About 20 degrees Celsius, which means either something else is happening underground or our understanding of natural gas formation has a few gaps. Iroquois stories describe sacred flames that never die, and in the 19th century, early European settlers were baffled by them. Some believed it was a divine sign, others called it witchcraft. And today, It's one of the only places in the world where fire and water exist in harmony without human interference. Of course, scientists still classify it as a rare natural seep, and the mystery may lie in some yet undiscovered underground chemical process or fissure system. They argue we simply haven't mapped it fully, and they're likely right. But even skeptics admit it's weird, the gas is too pure, the geology is too cold, the flame should not be too fragile. There's something oddly poetic about this place, where a fragile flame, impossible by all logic, burns on in secret, hiding behind a veil of falling water. A reminder that even in a world mapped by science, nature sometimes writes its own rules. It's a sunny day. The skies are clear. No storms, no jets, no earthquakes. And then a sudden deafening boom shakes the windows, rattles the ground, and echoes across the sky. But when you look up, there's nothing there. These are known as skyquakes, mysterious booms heard and felt around the world, often from seemingly nowhere. They've been reported for centuries, from the shores of India to the Carolinas, from Australia to Japan, and even in the Great Lakes region of North America. In Japan, they're called uminari, or the cry of the sea. In the Netherlands, they're mistpeffers. In the US, they're often just called mystery booms. And in Italy, they were once believed to be the sound of angels warring in heaven. Skyquakes have been investigated by seismologists, meteorologists, and even the military. They're often described as sounding like a cannon firing or a massive explosion, sometimes followed by a pressure wave or tremor, but no visible cause. And here's the kicker, they usually leave no seismic trace. Some suspect underwater seismic shifts or gas pockets collapsing deep beneath the earth. Others think it could be meteors entering the atmosphere silently until their final detonation, though this would be rare. Atmospheric scientists point to temperature inversions, which can reflect sound waves from distant explosions or industrial activity and cause them to arrive suddenly in new areas. And some believe they're tied to supersonic aircraft, but often no aircraft are recorded in the area at the time. And then come the fringe theories. Secret military tests underground or high in the atmosphere. Evidence of tectonic tension building in places not known for earthquakes. Even whispers of portal openings or shifts in electromagnetic energy that rupture the atmosphere. Of course, none of these are proven, but they keep the legend alive. The most grounded explanation? A combination of rare meteorological acoustics and localized seismic noise, small gas releases, quarry blasts, or oceanic shifts that go unrecorded. But none of these explain every case, and many skyquakes have occurred in areas nowhere near the ocean, industry, or tectonic boundaries. A sound from nowhere, a shockwave with no storm. When thunder strikes from a cloudless sky, it reminds us that Earth still holds secrets just beneath the surface, or maybe just above it. We humans like to think we've got the whole globe figured out. We've got maps, satellites, and even GPS that can find our dog in the next village. And yet, Earth still throws us curveballs, like boiling rivers, lightning that shoots up, and forests that whisper when nobody's there. So tell me, which of these weird wonders got you thinking? Have you ever heard the hum, seen something in the woods that made you walk a little faster? Drop your story in the comments, I read them all, and honestly, they're often wilder than the video. If you enjoyed exploring the bizarre side of our very strange planet, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next, because the weird isn't going anywhere, and neither are we.